When I was in college, it was a very difficult time for me because I was trying to discern what my vocation in life was to be. Was I called to be married? Was I called to the single life? Or was I called to be a priest? And for 5 years, I wrestled with it in late high school and 3 years of college. What is the Lord calling me to do? And I asked, and I prayed, and I asked, and I prayed. And seemingly, no sign, no direction was given. I felt this tug about being a priest, but for 5 years I ran away from it. I didn't want anything to do with it because that was not for me. So eventually, in my junior year of college, in the space of 1 month, the following happened. I had to do a research project on some subject, and I went to the library and had to take down bound books, periodicals of old magazines, 60s, 70s, and 80s, and do some research. And 6 times in a row, I pulled off a large 1,000-page bound volume, opened it up randomly, and I opened up to an article on a priest. 6 times in a row. Then a few weeks later, a bunch of us who were in the music program went to Arizona to do a concert there. And I went with many of my fellow students, most of whom did not know me well at all, none of whom knew what I was wrestling with. But these were my friends and colleagues, and they started to ask me one by one, "John, have you ever thought about being a priest? You'd probably be fairly decent at it." None of them were Catholic. And then later that 1 month, in my junior year of college, I was seeing a beautiful young woman, and she was not Catholic. And she came to me and she said, "John, I'd like to go to church with you. I've never been to a Catholic church." I said, "Great." So we went to St. Mary's Parish in Appleton. And the priest at the time who was saying Mass and preached the homily was Father Don Zuliger, who is now pastor of St. Bernadette in Appleton. And she was sitting right next to me, taking it all in, and the homily was on vocations to the priesthood. The only time I've ever heard a homily like that before in my life. And that evening, I took her out to dinner, an Italian meal. I paid. And sitting next to us at the table were 4 priests. So I figured it perhaps was a sign. And I said, "All right, Lord, I'll go to seminary for a year just to get it out of my system, and then I'll come back and live my life." And you see what happened. It's a true story. Today in our gospel, we hear about a man who was searching for a sign, a fellow named Zacchaeus. And Zacchaeus was a tax collector. Now, one of the commonalities in human nature and human culture in every time and place is that nobody likes to pay taxes, then or now. But back then, it was particularly a problem because what the Romans did is they employed these Jews who turned on their fellow Jews and turned into tax collectors. And these tax collectors collected money for the Roman occupying force. They extorted money from their fellow people. They kept half the money for themselves and gave half to the Roman occupying force. So needless to say, the Jewish people hated the tax collectors because they were a bunch of crooks. They were the scum of the earth. Zacchaeus was the chief tax collector, the worst. So he's feeling empty inside, as any of us do when we fall into serious sin. And he's looking for a purpose in his life, and he's searching. And he thinks, well, I heard about this guy named Jesus, and he's a healer, and he has nice words to say, and I hear he's really popular. Maybe he can tell me something about my miserable life and how I can be a little more happy. And so he runs ahead, and he climbs a tree because he's short. He's short. So he climbs up this tree and watches and waits for Jesus to pass by. Jesus is passing by in your life. God is passing by in my life. God is passing by every day. So too with Zacchaeus. And then it happens. Jesus comes, he stops, he looks up, and he says, Zacchaeus, I'm coming to your house for dinner tonight. What a sign. What a sign. And Zacchaeus says, Lord, I repent of what I've done. If I've taken anything from anyone, I will repay it back 4 times, and I will give half my money to the poor. And this day, salvation comes to his house. Zacchaeus was looking for a sign, a reason for hope, a reason to believe. He got it. I was looking for a sign for 5 years. I wasn't catching it. And eventually the Lord gave me a sign. You and I are looking for signs too. All of us. God, what do you want me to do with my life? Should I take a new job? Where should I send my kids to school? Should I marry this person or not? What should I do about my health? How should I spend the rest of my life? You and I are looking for signs every day, all of us. And sometimes we look for these signs and we don't catch the fact that the Lord is giving us guidance, signs, if you will, every day. But we overlook them. We're looking for the explosion or the brick with a note tied around it from God thrown through our front window telling us what to do. And my friends, quite frankly, the Lord does not often work that way. He is far more subtle and gentle with us, unless we're so thick that he has to hit us upside the head with a 2x4 so we get it. But usually, the Lord's signs that he sends our way are very gentle and very subtle. 3 pieces now in the spiritual life. 3 pieces of advice that perhaps might be helpful. The first is this. When God comes to us, when he speaks to us, when we are looking for a sign, the Lord is very, very gentle and very subtle. A still whispering sound, as the prophet Jeremiah says in the Old Testament. It's as if the Lord comes to us like a bee collecting pollen from a flower, doing no damage to the flower, just gentle. Or a hummingbird coming and taking nectar. Have you seen it? No damage to the flower, gentle. That's how the Lord deals with us. That's how he speaks to us. Those are the signs he gives to us. Subtle, small, gentle. A memory. An experience, something we see on television. A walk in the woods. Hearing a beautiful piece of music. Holding the hand of a loved one. A long-lost memory that comes back to us. This is how the Lord deals with us. He's gentle. You and I so often look for something big. God, tell me what to do. He doesn't work that way. I don't know why, but he doesn't. Usually, it's very, very small, gentle, soft, whispering in our ear, in our heart. Look for that sign in your life, and you'll find him. Second, God usually speaks to us through other people, usually through those we love, our family and our friends. So often we want the Lord to tell us what to do right now, ourselves. But most of the time, the Lord works through other people. Our spouse, our parents, our children, our friends, our neighbors, our coworkers. Sometimes we don't like this. You know, if somebody comes up to us and says, "You look sad, you look tired, you need more rest." And if 2 or 3 people say that to you, guess what? You're tired, you're sad, and you need more rest. No matter what you think, you do. There's a wisdom in those we love when they speak to us. Listen to it. God usually speaks to us through others. Catch the sign when it comes. Don't overlook it. Yes, we don't like people to tell us what to do. We don't like our loved ones because they know us so well. It's annoying sometimes. But honestly, usually they're right. Right? Usually they're right. God speaks to us through other people. And thirdly, in the spiritual life, discerning signs. Look for joy and look for peace. And there you will find God's will for your life. Joy and peace. Not necessarily happiness. Because happiness is eating a pizza. You eat the pizza's gone, and then you get indigestion, and then you're unhappy. Happiness is buying a new car. You get the car, and you're happy. And then you get the bill, and you're unhappy. So happiness comes and goes. Joy remains. Joy remains. Even if it's cloudy outside, even if we're suffering a great deal, even if we're on the cross, joy remains. If we want to know if we are doing God's will in your life, my life, look for joy, look for peace, and there you will find it. Really. How many times have we made the wrong decision? We've gone the wrong way, and immediately we lose peace, we lose joy, and we have remorse. You know what it feels like. I know what it feels like. That's not of God. Look for joy, look for peace, and there you will find the sign that you're on the right track. Listen to what others have to say. God works through them. And look for something subtle and gentle, not something huge and big. There you will find God. All of us are looking for a sign, all of us. And the Lord does give us signs, many signs, every day. But usually they're not huge, big explosions like they are in the movies. Sometimes they are. Zacchaeus, come to my house. I'm coming to your house for dinner. Girotti, be a priest and stop fooling around. Get on with it. Sometimes the Lord has to hit us upside the head with a 2x4 because you and I can be so thick that we don't get it. Okay. But still, the Lord comes to us and he gives us signs. We ask Jesus to bless each one of us today so that we can have eyes to see, ears to hear, an open heart to see how much he loves us and to recognize signs that he is present. Open yourself up to this. You might be very surprised what he has to say. May God bless you.